Well, good afternoon, graduates of 2020 of Baylor University. We're so excited to be with you today on Facebook Live. I've got Sloane Simpson here with me, your student body president, and we want to spend some time this afternoon visiting with each other and visiting with you as we really celebrate you as our graduating class in May of 2020. And I really just want to tell you how proud I am of you. You have been through a lot during your time here at Baylor, and you know, I know it hasn't been exactly what you expected this last semester, but as I look at what you've accomplished, as I look at the way you have kind of weathered the pandemic, I just have to say that I've seen so much resilience in you. I've seen so much determination and perseverance, and probably most importantly, I've seen wonderful care and compassion for your fellow students and for others in the Baylor family that were struggling at this time. So I'm really proud of you. I know that you're going to do great things in the world, and in part because of what you've learned and what you've been through during your time here at Baylor. So Sloane, this is your class. Congratulations to you.
Thank you. It's definitely an exciting time, definitely not what we anticipated, but I'm grateful that we're still able to celebrate and still to be together as a Baylor family, even if that's virtually.
That's right. Well, it's been fun to be able to get together virtually, even though we couldn't be together physically. I hope you got to see your names across the scoreboard in the stadium this morning as we ran those and to celebrate the class this morning. It was fun for me to get to watch some of that as well. But what we want to do today is really celebrate this class, to reflect back on your experiences while you were at Baylor. So I'm going to ask Sloane a few questions of reflection on her experience, and I think she's going to turn the tables after that, and we'll have a bit of a conversation, and I'll answer some questions, and then we also want to be able to answer your questions. So if there's things you would like to know from me or from Sloane, text or put those in Facebook, and we will follow those along, and we will be answering some of those questions as we go. But Sloane, first, I want to, you're moving out this weekend.
Pretty crazy, yes.
Getting the apartment cleaned out and saying goodbye to your friends that you've been living with. But let's go way back to when you started at Baylor. So 4 years ago in August. Well, you're still really young. That's not really very long. Think back to that very first day you came to campus as a freshman. And share a little bit about how you felt and what that experience was like, that very first moment you were on campus as a freshman.
I've been reminiscing on a lot of that time, and it's really crazy to think that 4 years have gone by. So much time, but also really doesn't feel that long ago. I definitely remember being very nervous walking on campus, and I got to relive a lot of this watching my sister, who's a freshman this year as well. But I remember being really excited, getting ready for the day with my roommate, living in Collins, going down to Memorial, getting some omelets for the morning, just trying to ease our nerves, and then going to chapel, which was really sweet, and having Chapel Ryan and singing our class song. That was really special. And then I remember going to Judge Baylor because my mom, of course, wanted me to take my first day of school picture, which I've taken every year since then. But those are the moments that stand out to me. I got to see a lot of my friends from line camp and just start my Baylor journey. So lots of nerves, but definitely felt at home.
I saw Chapel Ryan sang that song for you all and posted that.
I know. It was, my roommates and I watched that together. We actually got pretty emotional and remembered some of the lyrics, which was pretty crazy.
That's neat. Well, that was the year before I came to Baylor, and I listened to the song, so I had not heard that song. I've heard all the ones, of course, since then. And I realized that it had light theme to it. And I thought, well, that was just a precursor of all the discussions we've had about light in recent years. But that was really neat and special for Chapel Ryan to do that for you all. Well, so there are many Baylor traditions that you've experienced during your time here. One of those is running the Baylor line. And of course, that's something special freshmen get to do, and then you do it again as a senior. Do you remember the very first time you ran the Baylor line? What was that like?
I do. I loved running the Baylor line. That was for sure one of my favorite traditions. Very crazy, very exciting, and exhilarating. I remember the first one is always the hottest game. It
always.
So I remember standing in line for a while. I got there very early because I wanted to be one of the first people. And I remember running with some of my girlfriends and getting really excited. We hear the hype up music. They're getting ready to go. And we all decided to hold hands, which for those of you who have run the line know where this is going, and those of you who haven't know you should not do this.
Anybody that's watching that's going to be a freshman next year, don't hold hands when you run the line.
Take note. But we were running, and all of a sudden, halfway through, I realized that I'm not holding anyone's hands anymore. And I turned around to see one of my friends had actually fallen, but she was fine. She just stumbled a little bit, but went back to get her. But I remember that being really funny now, but a great time then for sure.
Well, it's absolutely got to be one of the best college football traditions in the country to watch the Baylor
so
line.
unique.
And then for the freshmen to sit there, really right in front behind the visiting team and cheer everyone on. It's
The best seats of the game.
It is. And last year I was so impressed. This current year's freshman class, we had some really hot games and they hung in there. So you guys are amazing as students, the way you show your spirit at events like that.
Oh, we love it. We love it.
So that's one of many traditions at Baylor. Are there others that are particularly special to you, or maybe even especially the senior year, that were particularly meaningful for you?
A lot. I think what's so unique about Baylor is we are founded on so many of our traditions, and that's something very unique to our university. But for me, I was able to be a line camp leader and serve in that way. So for me, I really love our traditions, and going to Independence during line camp, I think, is definitely one of my favorites. I love when you walk through the columns and you're greeted by your line camp leader and they hug you and say, "Welcome home." That to me was when I really felt like Baylor was my home. So I love seeing the columns on campus and just a lot of independence incorporated into Baylor's campus. So that's for sure one of my favorite traditions.
I remember it was the year after that when Brad and I first got here, and we did the Independence trip, and you're behind the pillars, and they give you your jersey and you put it on. And honestly, it was so emotional, and I had no idea I would react the way that I did. But in saying welcome home and everything, it's a really powerful experience, and one that I know you all will take with you for the rest of your lives, really, as you remember that really first moment of experiencing that at Baylor. So
That's true.
yeah. Well, you are entrepreneurship and marketing major. So talk a little, I know a lot of times when you come in as a freshman, you don't know what you want to major in, and students change their minds lots of times, and it can be kind of stressful as a student trying to figure out where you're going and what your passion is. Talk a little bit about your journey from when you got here to ultimately picking your major and kind of deciding what you really wanted to do.
Oh yeah. So when I came into campus, this actually is not the norm for sure, but I knew I wanted to do marketing and entrepreneurship from the beginning. That's actually one of the reasons why I chose Baylor was because of their marketing, or their entrepreneurship program, which I was so grateful to be a part of. But for me, it was more about being affirmed in that calling and being affirmed that that's where I was supposed to be. And I attribute a lot of that to my professors, to being able to study abroad and have that special time with those professors pour into you and work on your skills and talents and help you find where you fit in best, especially in the workforce. But what's really unique is once I came around to my senior year, I realized I had a passion for consulting. So it was cool seeing this major kind of transform into a new area of my life. So very excited about that, and definitely attribute a lot of that to my wonderful professors and the business school.
I want to talk a little bit about your professors.
Yes.
But before I do that, where did you study abroad? Tell me a little bit about that experience.
So I did two different. So this year I was in BEST, which is the Baylor Excellence and Scholarship Team, and we get to go to Prague for a week. So that was my capstone, and I loved that. We were able to meet with a lot of small businesses there and different entrepreneurs, and you get to see the culture and how businesses there operate differently. So I loved that. And then I also did BBE the summer of my junior year. So you go to, I think, 7 different countries, 13 or 15 cities, and that was definitely the best 5 weeks of my Baylor experience. But again, seeing the different cultures and the businesses there, and also working on your own business ideas and blending all that together.
Oh, those are great. Well, just a little trivia about my first experience at Baylor when I was on the faculty. I actually helped start the BEST program.
Really?
When I was a faculty member in the Hank Emer School when I was here the first time. So I'm glad to hear that's still going so well, and that you had such a good experience as part of that. I think when I was here, we took the students to Mexico and went to Monterrey, Mexico. Yeah. So, but Prague's a really cool place to go. So I'm glad you got to do that. Well, you talked about some of your faculty. Tell me a little bit about maybe some particularly important mentors to you from a faculty or staff perspective as you've kind of gone through your 4 years here at Baylor.
I would love to talk about that. So I've had a lot of different mentors all throughout. Definitely there have been older friends at Baylor, and they have definitely poured into me. But when it comes to faculty and staff, Dr. Jackson, so Vice President for Student Life, he's well known on Baylor's campus. He loves to interact with students, and he is that way one-on-one as well, and has invested so much in me. Has really helped me learn more about myself as a leader, and also just as a Christian. He really has pushed me so much in my faith and helped me just lean on that during these times of development and growth, which I have appreciated more than anything. He's for sure one of my strongest mentors here. And then Dr. Reed, who was actually leading the best trip. I've loved my relationship with her and her encouraging me so much in entering into this next stage of my life. So those have definitely been two people who've been very formative in my experience.
That's wonderful. Well, I think when you look back on your college career, those faculty that spoke into your lives really influence you for your entire life. And I can think back to faculty that I had that helped me think about what I might want to do for graduate school or even what kind of job I might want to do. And they had a huge impact and really helped shape the direction that my life went. So I'm glad you've had some of those experiences while you've been here at Baylor. Well, one of the things you've been very involved in since you've been here is student government. You started as a freshman in student government. What was it that attracted you to that student experience here? We have so many choices for students to make. And what was it that attracted you to that? Talk a little bit about the impact that's had on your life.
Yeah, I would love to do that. So student government was something I was involved in high school, really enjoyed that, loved being able to serve and lead and work on projects. But definitely student government here is a lot different than it is in high school. But for me, really, so my line camp leader definitely influenced me a lot when I first came into college. He pushed me to become a line camp leader myself and also told me that student government is a great organization to be a part of if you want to get really plugged in and meet a lot of really strong leaders on campus. So that for sure, but really what pushed me freshman year, because it's scary to run a campaign, like a little small campaign your freshman year, have signs up and pass buttons out and those sorts of things. But my grandmother actually passed away my first month of college, and I went home a lot and missed out on a lot of experiences. And for her, she wanted me to really invest here. So it was initially me honoring her and honoring that wish that she wanted me to lead and be really invested on this campus. But so that's what initially pushed me, and then since then I've loved the community. I've loved the opportunity to serve and to be creative on our campus. So it has really shaped my Baylor experience, and I wouldn't change it for anything.
So when you look back this year as you've been the president of student government, what things are you kind of most proud of, or do you feel the best about accomplishing? I know the end of the year ended very different than you anticipated, but that gives you new opportunities too. But looking back, and you look at the year, what do you feel like student government accomplished that really is making a difference for our students and for the campus?
I am really proud of us coming together as a collective unit this year. Unity was something that Brooke Beard, who's our internal vice president, she and I really pushed. We wanted us to come together. We actually have 3 branches of student government, which are like the real government, so it can be a little bit divided sometimes just in the sense of our roles and duties. So we wanted to bring that together and work together as a collective whole. So I think the morale and sense of community really increased, and then from that we were able to work harder together and achieve more. And for me, what I'm most proud of is our restructuring bill that we had, where we tried to restructure the format of our Senate to be more diverse and inclusive. And that started some really unique conversations on our campus about how to create a system that is inclusive of all members with different perspectives and backgrounds. So although that didn't pass, I'm excited to see that move forward. So that definitely is what I'm most proud of.
Well, sometimes you get things started. You may not get to see it finished, but it will have an impact. So we've got new student government officers coming in for next year. What would your advice to them be as they come in, or to the juniors that are going to be seniors this year? What might you tell them about how they can ensure they have a really great senior year and senior experience at Baylor?
I love that. I would say continue to invest in the places that you've already invested in on campus. Really care for those around you. And then I would say for me, what I tried to do this year was remember your time as a freshman, as a sophomore, growing up at Baylor and learning more about yourself, and think about the people who poured into you, and have that mindset of this year that you want to be that for others. So take a deep care for those around you and bring them in, and give back that sense of mentorship.
So the Baylor class of 2020, you all have had a really unique experience during your time at Baylor. Sloane, what is it that you hope the Baylor family will remember most about the class of 2020?
A lot of people have been saying this statement, and I think it holds to be very true. We are going to be one of the most perseverant classes to ever come through Baylor. And I hope that we're able to take that and we're able to love each other better because of it. We're able to remember our experiences really fondly and just come together as a group and serve as inspiration for those around us. But our perseverance and our resilience, for sure.
Well, I know we're going to see that. I've seen it just in the way you've all responded here at the end of the year. So I look forward to seeing what you all do as you go out into the world. And I know you're going to do amazing things. And we want you all to come back and visit often at Baylor. It's going to be wonderful. So, well, I think, Sloane, you've got questions for me, too.
I think so.
And then all of you out there, if you've got questions for me or Sloane, feel free to post those on Facebook Live, and we'll do our best to answer them.
Wonderful. Okay, President Livingstone, when you graduated from college, did you imagine that your path would lead you where you are today?
I can assure you I did not. You know, when I graduated as an undergraduate, I actually went directly into my graduate school, my MBA, and at that point in time, I wanted to work in athletic administration. That was kind of my passion, and I loved it. I had done an internship in the athletic department at Oklahoma State where I played basketball, and so that was really what I wanted to do. And then I got into my MBA program, and I actually had a faculty member in my MBA program in a marketing class, as a matter of fact, a consumer behavior class, who asked me if I'd ever thought about getting my PhD. And I really hadn't, but then I thought, well, you know, I really like school, and that would be kind of cool to do. I worked for a few years kind of in the sports world and recreation world, and then decided to go back and get my PhD. And that was really then when I started thinking about an academic career and what does that look like. But I certainly never thought I would be a university president. I thought I'd be a professor and do my research and work with students. And so, you know, the path changes along the way, but certainly a faculty really helped me rethink the direction I was going, and that had a huge influence on me, much like some of the faculty influence that you experienced here at Baylor.
I love that. I love that. And what has surprised you most about Baylor?
Well, there's been a lot about Baylor. Of course, I'd been here before, so I knew the university pretty well before I came back as president. But I think one of the things that was interesting to me, you know, I went to Oklahoma State, I worked at Baylor, but then I was at Pepperdine, I was at George Washington University, our daughter went to Rice University. So I've actually experienced a lot of different universities. And so coming back to Baylor, I think one of the things, I don't know that it's a good surprise, it was just this reminder of how deeply people experience Baylor and how deeply they love Baylor and how much their time at Baylor has influenced their life. And so that really deep connectedness with the university creates just this wonderful environment of people that want to come back, want to be part of the community, want to support our students, and you don't see that at every university. It's actually a rare quality, and I have to say it was a really pleasant surprise, because when you're out really working with people and engaging people with the university, when they have that deep love and care for the university and for our students, they want to get involved and they want to be a part of what we're doing. And so that's been a really pleasant sort of surprise, but also a reminder coming back to Baylor.
The Baylor family is definitely deeply rooted.
They are, absolutely.
And a lot of generations too, which I find to be so special.
I've met some families that were some students that are 7th and 8th generation Baylor families, which is like all the way back to independence. It's amazing.
Wow,
Yeah,
that is really
amazing.
incredible.
Yeah.
Wow. How has your faith played a role in you finding and both following your calling?
Well, you know, it's been an important part of my experience, I think. And, you know, I grew up in a Christian home, so I've sort of been, faith has been a part of my life since I was very, very young. But when you go to college, get out of college, you start having to make these really important decisions, you know, about jobs and family and other things. I think you really understand the importance of relying on your faith and really trusting in God to help direct you and guide you. And one of the things I think I've also discovered through the years, particularly when you're young and you're in college and you're trying to decide, you know, is this the right job? Is this the right person to marry? Or is this the right place to live? And we can just get so wound up in, oh gosh, I've got to do exactly what God's will for my life is. And we can almost just make ourselves frozen by thinking that. And I think one of the things that I've learned over time is that if we're truly seeking God and truly trying to be faithful, then whatever choice we make, you know, we can honor God in that, and we can serve God in that. And so I think through that, when I got into situations that were really difficult or I was facing challenges, you kind of know, you know, God's teaching me something in this. He's using me in some way, and and so I can persevere and get through it, much like your class has persevered through this spring. And now, when I took the position at Baylor and came here, I can look back. You don't notice it while you're going through all these experiences, but I can look back on my experiences at Baylor, the first time at Pepperdine, at George Washington, and I can actually see how those experiences prepared me for what I was facing and what I needed to do at Baylor. And you don't notice it at the time, but God's been with you through all of that and walked beside you and prepared you for what you're doing now. So it's a critical part of my life and certainly been important in my ability to be where I am and to do the things that I do.
Well, thank you for sharing that perspective. I love thinking about and being reminded that if the Lord is truly in you, then you will be able to forge that path and follow Him, and you just have to trust in that, because it is so easy to become paralyzed.
Absolutely.
So I definitely love that. What are you most proud of so far in your leadership at the university?
Well, I have a different answer to that question now than I would have had 2.5 or 3 months ago. Used to, when people would ask me that question, I would talk about Illuminate, our strategic plan to be a Tier 1 Research 1 Christian university, which is still critically important to us. Or I'd talk about the great success we've had with our Give Light fundraising campaign, which again is still really important. But as I reflect on the last really 2.5 months at spring break, 2 months really, and all that the Baylor family has gone through with the COVID-19 pandemic, and the way our students and our faculty and staff rallied together to dramatically shift how they were learning and teaching and doing research and engaging together. It's quite powerful and moving to think about the way we rallied together, came together to support each other, and finish really strong with the semester. And so that's really, I have to say, now when I think about it, what I'm most proud of is our ability in really difficult circumstances to be strong and resilient and to love and care for one another. And I think it goes back to what we talked about earlier, kind of that surprise that when you have that deep connectedness, that deep love and care for the institution and its people, when you face difficult times, you do come together and it makes you stronger. And I think our students and our faculty and staff will be stronger and better for what they've gone through. And as an institution, Baylor will be stronger and better. We will have learned some things about teaching and learning and research and caring for each other that we wouldn't have learned otherwise. It'll make us better in the future.
I completely agree. Truly, that Baylor family. But seeing everyone's faithfulness during this time has been it's provided me so much hope. So I love that, and I know that that will carry on to the years to come. And as we look forward to the future, where do you see Baylor in the next 10 years?
Well, I think that kind of goes back to some of the strategic issues that I talked about. Baylor is, I see in 10 years that we are going to be among the preeminent research universities in this country, while ensuring the integrity and strength of our Christian mission and the values that underpin that Christian mission, and that we continue to provide a really caring, loving community that supports our students, undergraduate students, graduate students, and have faculty that are doing really amazing scholarship and research that's helping solve some of the really critical problems in the world. And through all of that, we're putting out graduates that are going out, care deeply about the world, care deeply about making a difference, and are powerful advocates and change agents and leaders and servants in the community. So we're making great progress towards that. We're already doing a lot of that. So I have just such optimism about the future and what we're going to look like in 10 years.
Only stronger and only better.
That's right. Absolutely.
So you talked a little bit about our graduating seniors and them going into the workforce and going into the world. What is some advice that you would give to them during this time?
Well, there's a lot of things I could say, but I kind of go back to the verse in Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. It says, "Trust in the Lord always, and acknowledge Him in all your ways, and He will make your path straight." And I think that's so true, that it really is knowing kind of what your foundation is, where that trust and faith that gives you the strength to get through the good times, to get through the difficult times, and know that Christ is there walking with you through all of that. And I think that's great advice no matter where you are in life, but particularly when you're leaving a place you've been for 4 years or 5 years or 6 maybe, and going out into some uncertainty. It's just that confidence and trust that the Lord is with you and that He'll be there along the way is important advice to take with you.
Very true. And then the same question that you asked me, what do you hope that the Baylor family remembers about the class of 2020?
Well, I probably have to go to what you said. I just hope that you remember what a resilient group of students this is, how they continued to care for and support one another and finish really strong, and will make them better and stronger as they go out into the world for it. Couldn't be prouder of a class of graduates than this group as they persevered through some really challenging and unique times that really are different than any class before them has ever experienced.
That's great.
Well, I think we're going to take some questions from the audience. So let us know what you'd like to talk about. So let's see. This one's about graduation. So if the seniors are able to walk in an August graduation, will there be any in-person activities before the ceremony for the graduates to participate in as a group? Well, I know many of you participated in our senior week activities remotely this week, so that was something we tried for the first time, and we had great engagement and participation, so I appreciate you all enjoying that. But we certainly know it is not the same as being together in person as we would normally have done. So we're still in the process of planning for August graduation, which we certainly right now are planning to do. We're not exactly sure what it's going to look like, but we have talked about doing some senior week activities kind of in preparation for that. So just continue to watch your email, your social media, and as we finalize those plans, we will be sharing those with you. We really wanted to get through this week and senior week and what was sort of normal graduation week, and then we'll begin letting you know about plans for kind of mid-August when we'll be having our August graduation ceremony. I do want to remind you to, you can go on a link online and let us know if you want to come back to August or December graduation, because that will also help us with our planning to know how many people will be a part of those graduation ceremonies.
And I think there's also a link in your email as well, your student email.
Yes.
So both of those options.
Very good, wonderful. So I asked you about your favorite Baylor tradition. Someone wants to know what my favorite Baylor tradition is. So let's see. There are so many that I really love. You know, I'm going to bookend. I'm going to talk about two, and there's a lot in between that are great. But when I got here my first year's presidents, that was 3 years ago, everybody told me about move-in and how move-in worked. And they said, and they tried to describe it to me, and honestly, until you see Baylor move-in, you just don't get it at all.
Yeah.
And it's a different kind of tradition, but I think it's a wonderful gift that we give to freshmen and their parents to take the burden off of them of getting moved in the way you do in a lot of places. So I love that. And then I love to book in that with graduation, which of course we didn't get to do this year, but I love watching the students come across the stage. I love watching them celebrate the accomplishments that they've had. And I think too, especially because we do an August graduation, we have an August graduation and like a week and a half later or 2 weeks later we move freshmen in. And so that August experience is such a tight linkage between kind of the beginning and the end, and you see how much students have grown and developed. So I love that. There are many in between. I love Christmas on 5th Street, and I could go on and on.
So many
Baylor traditions. Yeah.
Thanksgiving dinner.
Thanksgiving. My mom got to join us for Thanksgiving dinner last year, which was great fun. She loved it and had such a good experience. So those are some really special parts of being a Baylor part of the Baylor family for sure. Sloane, question for you.
Oh, great.
What advice would you have for Baylor freshmen coming in this fall who might have a bit different experience than you did? And that's probably certainly true because we know we're going to probably have to do some things different about some of those traditions than we have in the past related to social distancing and ensuring the safety and health of our campus. So what advice would you give freshmen coming in knowing that their experience might be different?
I'm grateful to be able to answer this question. My cousin actually, so now we have a lot of people coming together. She is actually going to be a freshman here, and we've talked a lot about what her time's going to look like. And it is a little bit saddening to know that it might be different than mine, but what I've encouraged her in is the Baylor family, like we've talked a lot about, is very strong, and our community here on campus will continue to love and invest in our students. So what I would give as advice is just to continue to lean into that, be faithful in the Lord's plan, and knowing that this time too shall pass, and just make the most of your time, get to know those in your residence halls, just get really plugged in on campus in whatever ways that looks like, but trusting and leaning in to the Baylor family.
Wonderful. wonderful. And frankly, the freshman class and really the sophomore, junior, and senior classes next year will have a chance to, in some ways, maybe create some of their own new ways of doing things and new traditions as we think differently about how we engage with one another, yet wanting to build that tight-knit community that cares so deeply about one another.
A lot of virtual opportunities now too,
That's
which
right.
we've all tapped into.
We've learned a lot about how to use Facebook Live and Zoom, and that we never thought we would do, haven't we? So this is a question for me. Will the class of 2020 get any special consideration upon applying to grad school here, given all they've been through? Well, I don't make individual graduate school admissions decisions, but I would say that whether it's at Baylor or somewhere else, speaking in your application to what you've learned from this experience, how you've grown and developed, maybe challenges you've had and how you've overcome those, how you think the experience that you've had this semester prepares you maybe even better than it would have otherwise for graduate school, are all things that would help in your application to graduate school. You know, graduate school, we want people that want to contribute and be a part of the educational experience, that want to learn, want to help their classmates learn. And so anything you've done this semester that helps you do that better than you might have before, I think sharing that as you apply will only help your application. What advice would you offer someone trying to decide if grad school is right for them?
That's another good question.
Yeah, did you ever think about grad school, or did you just want to go out and work and start with that?
I'm very excited to go out and work. I definitely did think about it for a little bit, but that's something that I would entertain later. But for now, ready to get out. But you're a great person to answer this question.
Well, I did. I went straight through my master's program after I finished my undergraduate program. My situation was a little unique because I was a student athlete and I actually graduated a semester early, and so I still had scholarship and basketball to play, and so I started my MBA in January of what would have been my senior year. I'm not sure I would always recommend that, but we do have a lot of our student athletes that go on to graduate school, and we have grad transfer, so it's not completely unusual. But I think as you're thinking about graduate school, you really need to think about, what do you really want to do, and how might graduate school help you accomplish that? Not all graduate schools are professional in nature that prepare you for a particular job. Some are preparing you for PhD programs. So I think that, when you think about going to grad school, Sloane's not quite ready to think about that and doesn't know for sure what she might want to do with grad school. So it's an appropriate decision for her to go out and work a while, and later she can decide whether grad school makes sense. There are some, particularly in some of the health professions, where you really need to go to grad school in order to get the certification that you need to do what you want to do. And so, if you have a passion for healthcare or some of the health professions, going directly into graduate school might be a very good decision for you to do. I will say right now, because of kind of the uncertainty in the economy and the fact that we know many companies have slowed down their hiring or frozen hiring, it frankly might actually be a good time to consider going to graduate school, particularly if you know what you really like and what you're passionate about. There might be a window to go to grad school for a year or two, and then the economy hopefully will turn around, some of these job opportunities will open up, and you'll have more opportunities than you might have right now, just given the state of the economy. But I also encourage you, as you think about this, reach out to people that know you well, who understand what you're interested in, whether that's faculty or staff here at Baylor or other places, certainly your parents, maybe parents of some of your friends that are in areas that you're interested in, and they can provide you with really great insight as well. With this difficult economy changing the job prospects, which is what we were just talking about, what resources does the Baylor or the Baylor family have available that they can continue to draw upon if needed? So yes, we have a career center that has some great resources. I think it was Wednesday at Senior Day. I don't know if you participated in any of those. Our career center did several sessions on interviewing and resume building and looking for a job, and they also provided a lot of information about resources you can find online through our career center that can be really, really valuable to you. And our career center does continue to support students after they graduate, so I encourage you to reach out and and talk to the folks there, and they can work with you personally, but also direct you to the resources that they have that can be really helpful to you, that will help you with your resume, job search, and so on. So absolutely, we want to continue to support our students through the Career Center. But then I would also say, you know, the Baylor family is wonderful. Many of our graduates find their jobs through our alumni and friends of the university. So, you know, continuing to network with people. I know it's been harder to network remotely than we would if we were having face-to-face events. But really use this as an opportunity to reach out to people you know that are a part of the Baylor family and learn more about their jobs, their companies, and continue to build those relationships because those can really make a big difference both in the short term and the long term as you think about what you really want to do and what the opportunities might be. So we all know President Livingstone always won in basketball games of horse with her husband in college. But who would win if you played today asking for a friend? Okay, so my husband Brad is watching right now, and asking for a friend. Well, see, Brad, I think we did this the other day, and I think I actually won, and I think it's recorded on, I don't know, one of the social media, Twitter, I think. I think you can watch it on Twitter. And I think there's a few bloopers that neither Brad or I are actually looking very good in if you go back and watch that Twitter feed. I will say, and I don't know about you, Sloane, but our family did have a lot of fun over the last couple of months. In spite of being sort of sheltered together in place, we found some good family time together, and I hope everyone, including all our seniors out there, were able to really maybe spend more time with family and maybe some close friends that they might have otherwise, even during this really difficult time.
I completely agree. That's one of the hidden blessings during this time that has been so unique for sure. And you even got to use TikTok for
oh my gosh, yes.
Our students
Well, that comes from having a daughter that's, you know, about the same age as you all. She decided that we needed to become TikTok users or performers, and so yes, I learned a lot, and I've told some people I've done things during this shelter-in-place time that I never thought I would actually do in public, but it's been fun. We've had a great time and really enjoyed being able to do that and trying to find ways to keep everybody connected. Some of it more serious, some of it a lot of fun, as we really try to bring the Baylor family together. And I know you and student government did a lot of that as well.
It really is a great time to bring everyone together, and honestly, the gift of our virtual technology has been really helpful as well. But no TikToks from me so far.
We could probably arrange that.
I'm sure.
Well, we've really enjoyed our time together with you all today. We're so proud of you as a graduating class, and really look forward to what you're going to accomplish, and want you to come back often to the Baylor campus or engage in alumni events and activities all around the country and all around the world. You know, earlier in the conversation we were talking about your freshman song. We talked about light, and certainly the last year and a half or so of your time here on campus, we spent a lot of time talking about Baylor lights and all of us being light. And I think what I want to just challenge you as we conclude today is to remember the scripture in Matthew that says that you're the light of the world, and that you need to let your light shine before others, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. And I'm confident that what you've experienced while you've been here has prepared you even better to be brighter and brighter lights in the world, and that you're going to go out and make a wonderful difference in the world. And so, Sloane, this is, I think, kind of your last official event as the student body president. So I'm going to let you conclude today by doing one last sick'em with your graduating class, because we can't end today without doing a sick'em bears.
No better way to do it.
Absolutely.
Okay.